Look, it's market saturation, and it's every day. Woolworths, Coles, and the big players are looking for opportunities. Now, Australia's population has grown a little bit in the last little while, so that's a positive. But potentially, Woolworths Metro has gone finding all of those niche markets in the cities that a lot of our independents, IGAs and Foodworks and spas have carried out a role in. So Woolworths can go in there, put a Woolworths Metro sign up. They have a smaller footprint. They have a smaller cost base. They don't offer national pricing in there, so they have a higher gross margin. So that is a direct challenge to the independent sector. And it's one of the reasons we're at 7% market share now, where, 10 years ago we were at 24%.
Yeah, that's a huge difference there. Now, you say it's not just the volume that the big players buy, but also the arrangements that they make with suppliers. What do you mean by that?
Well, there are certain laws in Australia that, competition laws, which really means that suppliers, have a cost to sell, and we have to be fair, and they have to be fairly uniform. But what is not uniform are terms. So the entire grocery sector is based around terms, and it's really easy maths. So the more you sell, the better the terms you have. So the higher your volumes are, the more you can charge for things like shelf space. So if I buy one box of something, I'm not going to be able to say to a supplier, look, I'm going to put that on the shelf and it's going to cost you X, Y, Z to put X amount of money to put it on my shelf. No, I'm just going to pay for it and put it on the shelf. They have all sorts of terms that are not necessarily transparent, but there are contractual arrangements with suppliers. So that means that shrinkage, for instance, which is when stock is lost somehow or other, whether it's lost by theft or whether it's lost because it's gone out of date, quite a lot of suppliers have to pay compensation to the big guys about that. The independents don't have that clout, and I don't think anyone should, quite frankly, because it's hidden terms that are driving the profitability and the reason that the big players have such a market saturation in our economy.
So where you are in Toowoomba, that has affected profits' ability to operate. What does that mean for locals where you are?
So we bought 2 stores in 2008, and there were 5 major shopping centres in Toowoomba then. There were 5 really considerable IGAs, which meant that they offered a huge variety to the consumer. Between then and now, there are 13 major shopping centres. There's only 1 Drake's IGA. Where we came unstuck was that we got in when there were only the 5, and my business partner and I invested heavily in our 2 stores. We diversified them, we expanded both of their sizes, and we made a considerable local offer with local products. And we were almost finished that process with buying a whole stack of new refrigeration and going into a fair bit of debt when a white sign went down the road 800 metres, and it was an application to rezone an area that was zoned as light industrial. So that meant that it was going to be convenience centres, because the Toowoomba Town plan, we were quite comfortable where we were, because our little shopping centre had a butcher, it had a chemist, it had a baker, it had a takeaway liquor shop, it had it had a pharmacy, and we were really comfortable that we would hold that part of the market, because the town plan said that there'd be no more room for major shopping centres, only convenience centres. The Toowoomba Council approved 3 adjoining convenience centres. In that North Point Centre, which was 800 metres away from us, there was the biggest Coles west of the Divide and an Aldi. Basically, it took us about 6 years, but when we were at the end of our lease, we closed that store and walked away from it.
And I mean, that's another closure. But what, aside from competition, what is lost when we lose independent retailers?
So we had a lot of elderly customers that we used to deliver free to. They'd ring up the old-fashioned way and put in their order, and it could be for $20 and it could be for, $80 or whatever. We were open really early and we were open really late. We had a huge range of local products that started this, the people from Stanthorpe that were developing new jams, the people that were from dairy farms that were developing a cheese offer. We gave them the opportunity to find a market. People used to come to us and say, "You're the only place in Toowoomba that I can buy this, and I'm really glad that you're here." Our problem was that was the only thing they bought because they weren't doing their full shop with us. So that's a choice that consumers make, but they also have to question, where's the next Carmen's coming from? Because Carmen's is an amazing manufacturing company in Australia, manufactures a lot of really impressive food but they started at the back of George Altman's IGA in Hawthorne in Victoria. That story has compounded now because of the private label process that's being driven through the majors. So there's a limiting range. That means it's a limited scope for new innovative products that are to be retailed in Australia.